Joan Quinn Profiles. As an editor for Andy Warhol's Interview, the Los Angeles Herald-Examiner, LA Style, and Detour magazines, Joan covered the social set, the Hollywood hotshots, the international art scene, the mysteries of food, the excitement of travel, and the fabulous world of fashion. Joan continues to find creative people on the cutting edge who make things happen. Here's Joan Agajanian Quinn.
Hi, I'm Joan Quinn, and welcome to the Joan Quinn Profiles. Waiting to be profiled are actress Mary McDonough and composer Helene Federici. Author, actress Mary McDonough was born and raised in the San Fernando Valley, where she attended Our Lady of Lourdes, Chaminade Prep School, and then she went to UCLA. Her memoir, Lessons from the Top of the Mountain. I want it to be the top of the mountain. Lessons from the Mountain, What I Learned from Aaron Walton, tells us everything we want to know about Mary. She has a dual personality, or a dual persona, with Aaron, who was the TV show person that you played on the Waltons.
Right.
Has anyone else written about the Waltons?
I am the first Walton family member to write a book.
Is that right?
Mm-hmm.
And you talk about family members, and one of the things that I've been reading is that people say no matter how long they work together, they always say we were a family, even if they were fighting.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, Earl Hamner actually wrote the foreword, and he created the Waltons. He's written about the show. But yeah, and we actually are, though. I mean, we didn't fight that much.
So Earl Hamner started the Waltons. He wrote, what was it, the movie of the week?
Spencer's Mountain, and then he wrote The Homecoming.
The Homecoming, and that's what the Waltons was based on.
Yep.
And it was a story about his life, I guess.
Yes, he is John Boy. He is the real John Boy.
Oh, he's Richard Thomas. The first Richard Thomas.
Exactly. Or Richard Thomas is him.
I see. So you started in TV when you were only 9 or 10, I guess.
Yep, it was my very first audition.
Oh, you did have to audition.
Oh yeah. Oh, we went back many, many times, and there were hundreds of people there. Everybody that was famous was in the room. Every kid I'd ever seen on TV was there.
Is that right?
Oh yeah. And then they kept whittling it down, and they finally brought the 6 of us together. And then we met Richard, and they told us that we were doing this movie.
But this was for the movie?
The Homecoming.
The Homecoming,
The
which was
story.
Like the big thing, right? That's the not only the launch, but something that people remember and play all the time.
It was a movie of the week and ended up becoming the pilot. They decided to make the series from The Homecoming.
So, had you been acting?
No, it was my first audition.
Did you do anything in school?
No, not really. I did. I put on little plays in school and in the backyard, but I wasn't really a trained professional at all.
So the sisters didn't teach you, and at Our Lady of Lourdes?
No, I would say that no, the nuns did not teach us. I was doing a little play in the classrooms, but no, nothing real.
And how do they feel about that? You went to 2 Catholic schools.
I did. Well, there's a story in the book about coming from the Catholic school and then going on to this wild Hollywood land set. It's like you take up from one life and get dropped into another one. And in high school at Chaminade, I actually almost failed drama.
Oh my God!
It's all in the book.
Well, did you have any connections to a showbiz life?
No.
So
Nothing.
when you auditioned, did you want to be in show business?
I actually wanted to be on a Kool-Aid commercial doing cartwheels because I was a dancer and I did gymnastics.
You were a dancer.
Yes,
Were you
so
going to be a dancer?
Yeah.
Oh,
I was doing a lot of dance, and of course I just wanted to be on TV dancing and never thought about the acting part of it.
So here you are. What were you, 9 or 10?
10.
And you were on the Waltons for how many seasons?
It was 9 seasons, the movies of the week, and the pilot, so it was about 11 years total.
Oh, so you went through your really tough times
on
TV in front of everyone.
Yep.
And I think that's one of the lessons from the mountain that we learned.
Many lessons from the mountain.
One of the things, because you unfold everything.
Yeah.
You really open yourself. And I know some of the people who wrote great things about you testimonials about the book, like
Yes.
What's her name? Alison
Arngrim, George Clooney, Eve Plum,
Michael Learned.
Richard Thomas
Yes.
loves the book.
They love it, so they don't feel like their lives have been invaded.
Nobody gets really thrown under the bus. The book is really about my lessons
Right.
and what I learned from the show. And
More about you.
It is, because it's very different than other books that are out right now. I don't talk about a lot of salacious things, which is why it was hard to get it published. Because people want former child performers to fail. They want publishers
all
say,
the bad stuff.
All the bad. It's not a big enough train wreck. You're not talking about who you're sleeping with. Well, I had really tough lessons growing up on the show with body image and how I looked and how I felt, but those were my lessons. So I don't talk about Judy's lessons. I talk about my own. And it was such a wonderful place as well. While that was difficult at times, The Waltons was a great show, and I tell lovely memories of it.
Were those people that we just mentioned, like Richard Thomas and Michael Learned, and was Allison on the show with you?
No, Allison wasn't.
But did they feel frightened in a way that you were going to reveal personal?
I think people were nervous.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, family members first came out and sort of said, well, what is it really about? I said, it's really just about me and my lessons growing up, and how I learned lessons from my McDonough family, my Irish Catholic roots, and my Walton family. And
yes,
You said the reason you said it is because it comes out on top is because it is really about coming out the other side.
That's what I mean. So you have to look from the top and come
Yes.
down. But you're living two lives in a way, and that's hard for a
It
10,
was
11, 12, 13-year-old.
Very confusing. And I got very confused. And that's sort of what the book is about, and about finding my way. I'm a public speaker now, and I do workshops for women and girls.
Yes, which is
body
great.
Image, and I'm a coach, and so it's sort of it's more about coming out the other side and how to do that. And it doesn't matter that I grew up on TV. So many people had the similar experiences that I did.
Oh, you
growing
mean
up.
even if they haven't been on TV?
Yeah,
they
I
haven't
just
been a
happened to
hit.
do it in front of millions of people.
But you're a life coach, you said.
I am.
And that's when you give workshops.
Yeah, I do workshops on
How
body
did they
image.
come to you?
Well, the book will help more. I really do it. I've done a lot of work with women's health, and I've been in.
Do you work with clinics or with schools, or?
I've done all. I've done schools.
I see.
I've done women's programs. I've done girls groups. In Albuquerque, I've done a whole session with 400 young girls. And
Oh, really?
yeah. That's why I say it's not unique to me. I just happen to grow up on TV, but
Well,
a lot of people feel insecure
Right.
about their body and their body image, and
But you were insecure about your body image.
Oh,
Why?
gosh.
What was it?
Growing up in this thing where everybody said I was the pretty one, so I
Okay.
always felt that was my only value.
All right.
And then pretty, of course, in my industry meant thin, and I wasn't really tiny.
Well, that's
So
what
radical
did you
diets-
do?
Made huge mistakes. Radical diets, starved, binge, exercise, didn't eat. Then I would eat and eat. I had silicone gel breast implants, trying to
You
fit
did
in.
because everyone was doing it. The
Oh,
breast
yeah.
implants.
Yeah, I was losing parts because I wasn't blonde and booby enough.
I see. So
All I wanted to do was act.
did it help?
No, I got sick.
Yeah, you got sick.
I got very sick, and I ended up being diagnosed with lupus.
And do you think that brought it on? What
I
is
do.
it?
People will say I'm crazy and that there's no proof, but the studies haven't been done. I say this. I was a very healthy girl. I got implants. I got very, very sick. I had them out, and I got better.
Oh, you did get better.
Yeah.
Tell us what lupus is, because you're like a spokesperson, an ambassador for that. So,
yeah.
and they've given you national awards for
Yeah,
your
I did.
spokesmanship,
Yes.
and also the healthy heart.
Yes.
You've gotten that awards too.
I know. Well, I've always been very much about giving back. My dad was very much about, you have this beautiful gift, and now you need to give back. So I do work with lupus foundations and arthritis foundations.
So when you were diagnosed, how did they find it, and what is it exactly?
It took 10 years. It's difficult to diagnose. It's easier now because there's blood work that can be done called a lupus panel. But I had rashes and fevers, my hair fell out, my joints hurt, I have fibromyalgia, chronic fatigue.
And how old were you then?
I was like 23 to 33.
Oh, you were really young.
Yeah,
too.
yeah. And all these things kept going wrong. And finally I went to a rheumatologist, and they did the blood work and started treating this.
Can you prevent it? Can you prevent lupus?
Lupus is not contagious. They don't know what causes it, and they don't know how to cure it. Right now, they're just treating the symptoms.
So you can't prevent it.
But it can be chemically triggered, and I think that the silicone and all the chemicals in my system
seeping into your body.
Yeah.
And what about what is it? L'étoile de coeur, the heart.
Stars of heart.
Yes, that's so nice.
So when I was a young person, so I dedicated a lot of my time, and still do, to different charities. So the L'Etoile de Coeur came from the American Heart Association when they started that Jump for Heart program.
Oh, yeah?
I was their spokesperson.
Were you jumping?
I was. Then I was like 19. Now my own daughter came home with this little Jump for Life. Jump for Life thing. I was said, oh my gosh, I launched that campaign. And now my own daughter did it.
Oh, that's so great. So she's like going, oh, mommy.
Yeah. What does that mean?
One of the things you talked about auditioning for this.
Yeah.
So evidently you were like really in the throes of being an actress. You auditioned for a Linda Blair role in The Exorcist.
I did.
Tell that story. That's
oh my
funny.
gosh. Okay, well that's in the book too. It's the only thing I almost got in between The Homecoming and The Waltons starting.
That's when it was. So you were still
So my second audition, The Exorcist.
second.
And they came to Los Angeles, and they had hundreds of girls, and they narrowed it down to 5 of us. And then they went and found Linda Blair, who's a dear friend of mine.
Who was a good friend of yours?
She is.
How
she
did
ended up being my roommate. We were roomies.
You're kidding.
No,
But
she's
was your
fabulous.
mother upset about that?
Oh, no, not at all. No, as long as it wasn't me playing the part, my mom was fine.
Oh, it was okay. Oh, that was okay.
But
But
Linda's
now,
wonderful.
I don't know if you have to audition, but you're doing Boston Legal and Will and Grace. You're doing a lot of TV, ER.
And The New Adventures of Old Christine.
Yes, tell us about that.
Oh, I played Mrs. Wilhoit, and I call her a townsperson. She's one of the moms at the school. And it was great. Julia Louis-Dreyfus is amazing, and
I love the way you
graceful.
talk about all these people. You're so enthusiastic.
I am. I'm
when
a
you
huge
read the
fan.
book, you read the book and you're going like, her sister did this and I did this.
That's right. Julia and her sister played Waltons.
Oh, they used to play That was your story,
Waltons.
right?
And they used to, yeah. And it's very. I mean, for me, it's just. I'm just so glad to be there.
Thank you, Mary.
Thanks for having me.
So glad you were here. And don't go away. Hi, I'm Joan Quinn, and welcome back to the Joan Quinn Profiles. Producer, songwriter Helene Federici was born in New Jersey, but was raised between Florida and Iceland. She went to the prestigious Dreyfus School of Arts in Palm Beach, and she started her career producing fashion shows, hair shows, and TV programs. We're going to hear all about that, but first we're going to hear about these mini operas and the musical Banana Rock Pot. You already had that workshopped in New York, didn't you?
Actually, Joan, the Banana Rock Pot is something that hasn't been workshopped. It was one of the first things I ever wrote. I was a teenager when I wrote it. It was
Really?
I was very inspired to do it, but it's not yet been produced.
What is it about?
Well, it's funny you ask about Banana Rock Pot because that one is so long ago and it was so harebrained. It's a bit more of a traditional musical, Broadway-style musical, and it's about a band of fools and their adventure. To be honest, I haven't even visited that in so long.
Actually, you started that early. Then you went on to producing, I guess.
I did. I accidentally got a job I wasn't qualified for.
Oh, that's what I was going to ask, how you started producing fashion shows, right?
Well, I began with a company called Talkspot.com producing internet broadcasts.
Oh, that's it.
That's what, yeah, and I really believe strongly I was accidentally hired for that position, but I proved to be quite good at what I did, and I was quickly promoted, and I was lucky to produce national radio shows, and at the time it was the largest simulcast in the world.
Is that right?
Yeah, it was very exciting for me, but like all the .coms, it came to an end, and so I came out here to Los Angeles.
But did you do the hair shows here?
I did. The hair shows,
you
the fashion
did.
shows, those were all Los Angeles productions.
Oh, they were. Oh, I was
Absolutely.
wondering where you got all that creative, from Iceland or from Florida?
From my mother, I think.
Why were you in Iceland?
Actually, that was my mother. She was a librarian for the military, and
Really?
it was exciting. It was spontaneous, actually. I was in art school at Palm Beach County, and she picked me up from school and said, "I have a surprise for you." And we were in Iceland 2 weeks later, and it was quite a change for me. I was a teenager at the time, and then I spent the rest of my teens there.
So that creativity comes from your mom. We can't give Iceland any credit, or Florida.
We can definitely give both Iceland and Florida lots of credit. They're both fantastic places. The Palm Beach County School of the Arts, which is now the Dreyfus School, was one of the most amazing experiences I could have had as a creative young person.
So is that what influenced you to write a mini opera?
Yeah, well, yes, that was definitely how it began. And from there I went and wrote, Banana Rock Pot, which we've talked about.
I see.
After that,
And why would you write a mini opera?
Well, today I write a mini opera because today's audience wants something different than a traditional Broadway play. And after, experimenting with writing myself, I started to pay attention to what people did at night, where they went, especially here in Los Angeles. And Los Angeles, as we know, is not a theater town, but it's...
Or a late night town either, really.
Well, by New York standards, no. But, the theater aspect is changing. Los Angeles is becoming a theater town. It will be the theater town in the future.
I believe that it's a great theater town, and that's why I work with so many people who do little theaters, 49 seats, 99 seats, because that's what they're doing to show their craft and also to develop their craft. You're doing something in a really big space, though. The $1 Million Theater?
The $1 Million Theater is on our historic Los Angeles Theater District.
Fantastic.
Now, for your New York audience, this is going to be shocking, and they're going to have to look it up online. But Los Angeles has the largest theater district in the nation. 12 historic theaters in one district.
Oh, right downtown.
Right downtown.
And they were all built when? In the 20s or
three
earlier?
of them are celebrating their 100-year anniversary this year. So the city of Los Angeles is celebrating its Broadway district centennial this year.
And that's where you're working?
That's where I'm working.
On what's it called? E.T. Mostave?
E.T. Mostave. My theater company, Electropera Theater, is...
Tell us again. Electropera.
Electropera. Although I've heard people pronounce it electro opera, and I don't care how it's pronounced.
I thought it was Electra Opera.
And that's fine. I think it's fun to hear people pronounce it. I don't know why everything I do is so hard to say.
What is is it electronic opera?
It is. It's electronic opera, and it really breaks through a lot of the traditional theater conventions, which is what I think is an opportunity for Los Angeles.
Opportunity?
An opportunity for Los Angeles. We don't really want to see the kind of productions that are being produced in New York. It's not appropriate for our audience here.
So what is it then? It's
shorter format.
And 2 or 3 things?
Well, this is one. I'm going to be doing this with David J., best known for his work with Bauhaus and Love and Rockets. He's developed a new piece, and by the way, he's a brilliant playwright, and he's developed a new piece called The Chanteur and the Devil's Muse about our LA Black Dahlia story.
Oh, so that'll be part of this evening.
This evening is theatrification, and it's the launch of Los Angeles' Broadway Centennial Celebrations, and it's a double feature. It's David J's work and my work together back to back, and also Shepard Fairey is going to be there.
How'd you get Shepard Fairey? I mean, he's one of our great street artists.
He loves theater.
But he loves theater, but he's a great disc jockey, isn't he?
He is. He's going to be DJing that night. So he is a great disc jockey. He's a fantastic artist, and we're very lucky to have him participating because we are all the artists.
We have a picture of
Rachel Staples, my opera singer, and she's amazing. I mean, you really have to hear Rachel. She has one of the most unique voices. She beatboxes through a didgeridoo. She's a wild performer, and she has a fantastic opera voice. unbelievable. She's really something to see.
One of the things when I was researching how you write with the German aesthetic and kind of mixed with French ballet and opera. Did you study that?
No,
genre?
I really didn't, but I guess there's this subterranean sort of consciousness that a lot of artists are tapping into. And when I speak with artists and they have these ideas that parallel my own ideas, that's how I know this is a real movement here in Los Angeles. It's not just me, it's a whole bunch of producers and creators who are addressing what LA wants out of theater.
And one of the other things you say, you look to the past, the religion and the philosophy of different things. That obviously comes into what you're doing.
It does. I'm actually a philosophy student, a philosophy major, so it does play a very strong role in everything I do. When it's not crippling my ability to move forward. But the opera ballets, I one day was sitting at home thinking, why don't I ever see opera and ballet together? Why is it always opera or ballet?
Uh-huh.
And I went and typed opera ballet in the computer, and I discovered that there are opera ballets, and they were quite popular in Paris in the 1700s.
Oh, that's how you figured it out.
I figured it out. I just thought, common sense. Why don't we see them together? Well, we do see them together, but just not all the time.
But we see ballet and opera sometimes, but we never see opera in ballet. It's never the other way.
No, yes, exactly. But in France, they were doing it quite a long time ago, and I like to think that those must have been the hottest multimedia productions around in the 1700s. That must have been the most exciting thing to see.
Did that influence the costumes? Or are these complete, like you go from 17th century to beyond, not now?
Beyond, yeah. There's no influence there for the costumes. The costumes are influenced by the brilliant designer at Skin Graft, Johnny. He's amazing.
I love the name. When you think of Skin Graft Johnny, you think of tattoos and everything.
Well, he does amazing leather working. I mean, he's actually fantastic. I really urge everyone to check him out online. His work is unconventional, out of the box, very wearable. He's from a different planet, and we're very lucky.
And the sets?
The sets are... a giant radio dish that shoots lasers and smoke, a lot of projection work. E.T. Mostave is Lucinda's broadcast from a war zone somewhere else, sometime else, and it's a darting transmit in space. And so we're picking it up and we're broadcasting it out, and that's where the radio dish comes in, and everything that happens on stage gets live mixed through the projector and back onto the backdrop as news coverage.
So you really found it in outer space. Did you write it in outer space?
Very possible. Very possible, Joan.
One of the things before we leave, I want you are on the board of Bringing Back Broadway.
I participate with the Bringing Back Broadway committee.
What is that?
Well, our Councilman Hazar, who is a patron of the arts, has made a great effort to see our theater district come back to its fullest potential.
Oh, so that's the board down there. Is that the same as Broadway 100, which you also work on?
Broadway 100 is the Broadway Centennial Celebration. So Bringing Back Broadway, and Broadway 100 are together. They're one and the same for this year, and then it's back to Bringing Back Broadway again. And again, these theaters are spectacular. They're quite amazing.
They've all been refurbished. Many of them have been refurbished,
and they're
right?
At various stages of that. It's still an ongoing thing. And as the brick and mortar, comes together, so does the content. And the district has just an amazingly bright future. The whole infrastructure's there. There's one thing, Joan, I'd like to say in a contrast, because I do compare New York and Los Angeles a lot.
I was just going to say, we're lucky that you came to Los Angeles and didn't go to New York.
I had a choice. I could have gone either way, and I literally, in a day, had to make that choice. I had a musical theater on my back, and I was going to go one way or the other. And I chose Los Angeles because I was afraid that New York, there wasn't any room to really be unconventional. And I just was afraid of the uphill battle. And so I thought, there isn't a lot of theater convention in Los Angeles. And that's where I'm going to go. And a lot of artists feel that way.
And I think that's why we're so lucky you're here. Thank you, Helene.
Thank you so much,
Thank
Joan.
you.
I'd like to say quickly, March 26th, Theatrification at the $1 Million Theater. It's on 3rd and Broadway. You can go to theatrification.com. That's theatrification.
Okay.
.com, theatrification.com. Thank you,
Thank
Joan.
you, thank you. And keep writing to JAQUINN1@AOL.com. And we'll see you next time on the Joan Quinn Profiles.